Books for Africa is a multinational organization dedicated to collecting, sorting and distributing books to children and adults in the African continent. This year, the initiative is raising funds to collect its 50 millionth book to send to the continent. According to UNESCO's Institute for Statistics, literary rates for adults and youth continue to rise around the world. But despite these gains, 774 million people 15 years and older still cannot read or write. In South Africa, the country ranked last out of 50 countries in the 2016 Progress in International Reading Literacy study. The report found that 78% of South Africa's grade 4 pupils could not read for meaning. We're now joined by Books for Africa Board of Directors and Planning Committee member Niclette Mundabi to tell us more about the initiative. Niclette, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us on Weekend Dawn. So, do you know the latest statistics on reading or literacy in Africa, and can you share some of those with us?
Good morning, Jacob. Thank you for inviting me to be here. I do not have the specific figures to quote to you this morning. However, I do know that literacy on the continent is something that we are constantly working towards improving. It is better in some countries than in others. Where I'm originally from, in the DRC, we're looking at about 80% of children who may be out of formal education. And so Books for Africa is working very hard to counter this narrative of miseducation and illiteracy. And this is why we are pressing on with our annual fundraiser this year.
Niclette, as we go into a different way of consuming news or consuming information where we're looking at technology, how does Books for Africa incorporate technology in also getting people reading?
So what we do is, at the moment, we do ship books, and then we also ship computers. So what we tend to do is, if the receiving organization on the continent specifies what exactly it is that they need in terms of whether it's technology or the actual books, we tend to mix the containers and have either half and half, where we have the computers that usually retail for about $150 per piece, and the books are usually free. So we try to actually evolve with the technology and with the demands that we are facing on the continent.
In my intro, I mentioned 50 million books. How many people do you think have been helped by the Books for Africa initiative, if you're talking around 50 million books?
So we've sent in surplus of 1,000 containers to basically all of the countries on the continent right now. Our highest number of containers have gone to Ghana. They've gone to South Africa. They've also gone to Nigeria and Ethiopia, and so which have received roughly about 300 containers each. And so we are fervently working with our partners to increase those numbers, especially to Francophone-speaking countries on the continent.
And when you do look at the continent, which country on the African continent is in dire need of more books? Which one is suffering the most, the one with the highest number of illiterate people?
I wouldn't be able to actually give you a specific figure on that. Unfortunately, I don't have those figures on me. But again, like I say, there are some countries that obviously have a higher demand for books. And this is where you, I think, one of the countries that I've quoted was the Congo DRC. There's definitely an opportunity to ramp up the numbers that we sent to those type of countries that are in dire need. But I wouldn't be able to specifically quote what that figure is.
And do you think there are enough interventions by multinational operations and aid agencies to help Books for Africa?
I think at the moment we have great partners who, part of our funding actually comes in through grants and partnerships with organizations such as Google or USAID. And so I do believe that there is a considerable effort. Obviously, this could always be ramped up. And this is why you see us hosting the annual fundraiser, where we try to raise awareness globally as to the work that we are doing and the funds that we need to further ramp up numbers to send books all over the continent.
Let's take it back to the basics. Why is it important to instill education, and why is it necessary from a young age?
Well, as you know, Africa has a population of about 1.2 billion people at the moment, and about 70% of those are under the age of 25. And so what we understand is that we need to build the human capacity. And the way we do that is through education and improving access to books. And education is one of the vital ways in which we're going to end the cycle of poverty. And so the challenge which we've taken on is to supply books onto the continent to make sure that people who on the remote end of the countries that are able to still access books, and literally this is the great joy that we've had in shipping 50 million books to the continent so far.
So I came across an article saying the International Futures Forecasting System calculates that 122 million Africans are missing secondary school, slightly more than half of whom are actually female. And my question to you is, does Books for Africa concentrate on getting more female children reading, or more females in generally reading?
Absolutely. So if you currently for the fundraiser, we have captains of containers. And what you see is a lot of the captains focusing on getting books to either schools that are focusing on educating the girl child, or foundations that are headed by young girls who are also trying to make sure that their peers on the continent are able to get books. And so what we understand is, obviously, in many ways, the future is female, and we want to be able to to empower as many girls as possible on the continent. And this is why partnership is so important for us as an organization, but also for organizations that are on the continent that are doing critical work to improve literacy amongst young girls.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Thank you for your time. That was Books for Africa Board of Directors and Planning Committee member Niclette Mundabi talking about the Books for Africa initiative. They're about to deliver 50 million books, and it's something they'll continue doing for a very long time to improve literacy levels, specifically on the African continent.